Okay, y'all know that I try to be only positive about Norway on this channel because I am a grateful immigrant, but nobody really talks about how lonely Norwegian cabin culture, and especially cabin culture in the summertime, is for immigrants. So, hyttetur, which means a trip to your cabin, is a huge part of Norwegian life. I've known that since I grew up. If you're American, that's sort of maybe something to learn. What I didn't really know until we moved here is that most families have their cabin that they go to. Of course, this implies a certain level of generational wealth or something handed down, but many families have a cabin that they go to. And while to some extent, this may be due to generational wealth, on the other hand, if you've just always lived in Norway, then you basically have some connection. It's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. You know somebody who knows somebody, and you get invited to their cabin sometimes. And this is not even something I'm really willing for people to correct me about. I mean, I know people are going to say what they want in the comments, but the fact of the matter is that if you're a newcomer here, you don't have that network and those connections. And so every weekend, particularly all summer, but kind of throughout the year, everybody's just gone at their cabin. And because this is such an embedded part of Norwegian life, I think people really don't think about how lonely it can feel as a newcomer to Norway when people are getting invited left and right to other people's cabins and you're just kind of like, cool. There's obviously lots of nuances to this. One thing is that I think you can argue, and I thought this more when I first moved here, that the home is a very private space to Norwegians, and there's a much higher threshold for getting invited into that home than in America. Having lived here a couple of years, I don't think it's quite as high of a threshold as I used to think. But you could argue that that's part of the hytta thing, is that, that's a very kind of private family space, and so people aren't getting invited. But from my perspective, I do see people being invited to these spaces. Sometimes it's even through work, like the job has a trip for people and they go out to the hytta. And I work remotely. I know a lot of immigrants that have come recently to Norway. They are not necessarily working in an office that would have that kind of office culture. So my point is, and I'm sure I'm going to get tons of people saying, well, actually, or but this, or but that, or but that. And obviously this doesn't mean like you have to go invite everybody to your cabin. What it means is that maybe have a little bit more awareness when things are very normal to us, like going to the cabin, inviting the people that we've always invited, right? I always joke that Norwegians have had their same 6 friends since Barnehaga, so it's like you have a tradition. These are maybe things we don't realize, and I've had these moments as an American that we don't realize this could make somebody feel utenfor. And this is something that I've noticed that Norwegians don't notice is happening to newcomers. So I don't know what the solution is, because I'll be the first to admit, like, if you have a very pleasant space and you don't know somebody that well, or you feel like you don't know somebody, it can feel odd to invite them. I don't know what the answer is, but maybe just awareness. Maybe now that we have this sometimes about Mother's Day in America, realizing that not everybody has a great relationship worth celebrating with their mother. I think the answer might just be some awareness that these sort of picture perfect outings that seem just sort of like a given, or in America it might be Thanksgiving dinner, right? Being aware that not everybody has somebody to eat Thanksgiving with. Doesn't mean you have to invite everyone. It just means having some awareness that this could be a tough time for people. In my opinion, hyttetur, the time in the summer where everybody's at the hytta all the time. I've even straight up gone on my Facebook before and just demanded that my neighbors invite me. It didn't work. I didn't demand. I was kind of joking. But the signal does not get out, or the signal is not received, right? And so I think it might be something to be aware of, because there are so many newcomers to Norway lately, and I cannot be the only one that feels this way.